This this show. Okay. Latest episode of Daredevil Born Again. I believe episode 8. Talking about this one's going to be weird. Watching this one put me in a weird place. Because I think the episode's good. I think the episode might even be great. But I'm also not sure because it's still not working for me for reasons that are not the episode's fault. Or at least it's not working for me as well as it should be. And I think what it comes down to is if you follow me on my main channel and you've heard me talk about the Doctor Who episode Power of the Doctor, which was the last episode for Judy Whittaker, I have described that episode as a great party in celebration of somebody I don't like. This kind of feels like in a similar vein, though to a slightly lesser degree. This feels like a culmination, and a very strong culmination, a very solid pulling together of a whole bunch of threads into a really proper building to a climax package. But it's made up of threads I don't like or have been at best neutral on. So it's like this great celebration of something that I'm like, yeah, like the party's good. I don't like that thing though. Okay. Let's start with Poindexter. I'm just gonna call him that because it feels wrong to call him Bullseye. Okay, back up. I was about to say nothing about this guy feels like Bullseye. That's not true and unfair because his breakout, where after Matt lost his temper at him, smashed his face into a desk, and presumably loosened some of his teeth, he then spits that tooth into the eye of a guard and uses the opportunity to break himself out of jail. That's the most Bullseye thing ever. That's great. But honestly, other than that singular moment, this guy has never felt like Bullseye to me. He's barely been memorable. Like, I think I might have made a mistake in skipping over the previously on section. I usually do with these things because unless it's a case of like a show where I genuinely don't super remember what had gone on in like usually in the previous season. So like I'll watch it for House of the Dragon because I frequently forget what happens on that show despite thinking it's pretty good. But anyway, I skipped that and I forgot he was even still around. Why would I remember this guy? And he just has not worked for me. I didn't particularly like him in season 3, and his appearances on here are the kinds of appearances that really only work if somebody really made a strong impact when they showed up before, so you get all excited of them showing up again, which Daredevil has pulled off back on the Netflix series because Kingpin only shows up in one episode of the second season, and he's great because there was a full season earning how much this guy matters and how awesome he is in the story. And they tried to do that with Poindexter here, except that his appearances in season 3 did not build him up the way that Kingpin was built up in season 1 of the Netflix series. So it feels like a solid payoff to something that didn't earn it. And that's kind of where I'm at for a fair bit of this. To be completely blunt, I'm looking at the breakdown of Matt's relationship with I can never remember her damn name, which kind of proves my point. Like, I can never remember her freaking name because she just feels like the fill-in girlfriend because the people who he has an actual genuine connection with Foggy and Karen aren't there. And so she's just been plugged in, but it's never earned that kind of connection. But like the tension between them feels like it is doing good stuff, but it just also doesn't feel like it got earned properly. Similarly, though not quite the same, the stuff with Vanessa and Fisk, that's solid stuff. But if you've been following my criticisms of the show up to this point, that feels like finally getting them back to the point that I have been screaming, I want them to be this for the whole time. And so while it has finally gotten them in terms of their connection with each other where I want them to be, I'm still bitter at how much show I've had to watch where they weren't there when this connection, this way of them being was what was always great about them. And I know the show was probably teased like, oh, we're going to give it to you again. Just wait. Like, it doesn't feel like edging from a dom who knows what they're doing. It just feels like somebody holding a treat just out of your reach. And I wish I'd picked different metaphors than that, but damn it, that's what I went with. Like, you can do that. You can screw it. I'm leaning into it. You can edge your audience with what you know they want and then giving them and having it feel cathartic. But if you don't manage that properly, you can just be left with someone who's bitter that you took that long to give them the thing that they want. It's not enough just to deny it. The way in which you deny it has to still bring those sensations to the surface, just almost all the way there. But then you're like, oh, no, not yet. Not yet. But that's not what the show has done. It's just held the two of them as a dynamic out of reach and been like, do you want this? I'm like, yes. Yes, I do. Can I have it? And when you finally give it to me, like, I'm glad I have it, but I'm not going to thank you. You shouldn't have been denying it to me. Should I be using BDSM play metaphors in my reviews more? I don't know. This is either going to like take off and be the whole way I do things forever, or I've just lost like half my audience. I don't know which. Okay. But yeah, and like the revelation about Vanessa being the one who hired Poindexter to kill Foggy is like, it's effective in terms of motivating Matt for what he ends up doing. Although, like, quick note, I'm pretty sure if you are the +1, you can't show up by yourself. Like, if the person who you were going to a party with is already there and turned in your invitation and you weren't there to be their +1 with them, I don't think you could just rock up on that party later by yourself and go, oh, it's okay, I'm somebody's +1. Don't think you can do that. Anyways, like, finding out what Vanessa did certainly motivated Matt, to take the action that he does, and I get it in that sense. But, like, what does that actually change for me? It's not like I didn't think Vanessa was capable of doing that. Of course she was. So, like, okay, rather than being the most obvious person who would have hired Poindexter to do it if somebody did hire him and it wasn't just revenge, which it easily could have been as well, because I barely remember this guy. I don't know what motivates him. But, like, instead of being the most obvious person, it's the second most obvious person. And again, like, I'm looking at the conflict between Matt and What's-Her-Face, and, like, her feeling like her experience with Muse, making her think that she now has a full understanding of what all vigilantes are like, and that clashing with Matt being Daredevil, but he can't tell her that. That is not uninteresting, but it also barely skims the surface of that. It just kind of becomes the way in which they are currently clashing. Where, like, it seems like the show has two modes for them. They're either just currently clashing or currently making out. And, like, I've never really understood what they are just as a couple. Like, I don't know what their normal day is. I don't. But I'm watching this build, and I'm watching, Vanessa shoot Adam. And I'm watching Fisk bring, what is his name? Danny. I can remember this guy's name for some reason. Bringing Danny, closer and seeing how that, affects him. And this guy's, he's really building this really close loyalty to Fisk and knowing how bad that's going to be for him. And seeing BB, like, sort of weave in and out of all this and try and do things in her own way. Or, okay, here's another thing with the cops and the task force. I don't, if they were going to do a story with the cops being a problem. I wanted them to do a story about the cops being the problem, but they took all of the bad apples and isolated them in this one group, and now we can have the police commissioner go after them as if the police commissioner hadn't been covering for these jackasses and everybody else like them up until they were on Fisk's task force. But that's not what the show's doing. It's not what it was ever going to do. And for what it is doing, which is not what I want, but for what it is doing, this escalation of a member of the task force just flat out assaulting somebody and flaunting his ability to do that in front of the commissioner is a good build, but it's a good build on a story approach that I don't like in the first place. Do you see what I mean? Do you see what I mean? Where like, this is good, but it's good for stuff that I already don't like. It is a good, it is good use of a bunch of ingredients that I don't care for. Okay. Food metaphor, I should go back to BDSM, but food metaphors, which are way more trite. I don't like sushi. I just don't. But if you were to take me somewhere and like show me these amazing cuts of fish and like even see it get made or all this stuff, I can appreciate like, yeah, that does indeed seem pretty good. I don't want it. I don't want it because it's an assemblage of stuff that I don't want to eat. I don't know what to tell you. So, and it's frustrating because like I do like Daredevil and I like Charlie Cox in the part and I love Fisk and Vincent D'Onofrio is great and I like Vanessa and they're finally doing them correctly. So like there is stuff that I like, but it's unfortunately being carried on the back of a bunch of elements and plot threads that I don't. So it's just a weird viewing experience. Because I just kept seeing these moments where I'm like, part of me is going like, that's good, but then the rest of me is very unmoved. So it's just been weird. It's just been weird. I like, if this gets this will get a second season. I think they're already working on it. When this gets another season, I'm going to go into it and hope that the jankiness of this season was from the retooling and whatever else went on, and that without a major shakeup halfway into shooting, that next season will be much cleaner in terms of what it is and what it's building. And it may well turn out that once it is decided that it knows what it wants to be, it's going to be the things that I don't want. That's distinctly possible, but right now it still feels very up in the air. So, Daredevil! Episode 8. It's 8, right? Yeah, it's 8. I think so. Just see what you think about it. Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills. Enables me to do this as my living, even if you can't help me out that way. Like, share, subscribe. Those all help. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here. Just come on back next time you need a break. My God. And now to thank my highest supporting patrons. Robin Moore, Goddess Elida, Zubin Lopfula, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Oliver B., Melissa Pedersen, Movie Turtle, Melinda Walters, Auntie Kate 808, Andre, Becky Sparks, Claire Wright, Tracy Scrabbit, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, Quite Bearish, Rosalind Bennett, Toku Bluhuvian, Adam RDL Taylor, Pal Barabajago, Mary Mello, Mira G, Sir Didymus is my favorite. I've never screwed that one up before. Well, if you want to hear me mess up your name, check out the rewards on the Patreon. I'm going to blame you.